Well, welcome, and thank you all for coming. You may have been expecting a formal concert this afternoon. White tie and tails, a flowing gown, even flowers on the stage. Well, that's not going to happen. And let me tell you why. Last December, Jean Travis came to North Hill. She joined an exercise class where she met Peter Wallace. They chatted and soon discovered a mutual love not only of music, but the piano. Shortly thereafter, they began practicing together in Asia and Peter's apartment. One thing led to another, and soon they were performing duets to their mutual enjoyment. So much so that they decided to share that enjoyment and their love of music with others. And the best way to do that was to invite you to come to one of their practice sessions. So, and this is the hard part. Use your imagination and join me in apartment 0306 for the next 45 minutes or so. It will be a tight fit, but if we all squeeze in together, it should work. Oh, and I almost forgot, the bathroom is down the hall, the second door on the left. Now today, Peter and Jean have decided to warm up with a composition of Ludwig van Beethoven, a German composer and virtuoso pianist. He is one of the most admired composers in the history of Western music. His works rank among the most performed of all classical music. At the age of 44, and at the height of his creativity, he became almost completely deaf. He retreated from public life and died 13 years later. Here are Peter and Jean with Beethoven's Sonata Opus number 6. As is their custom, Gene and Peter will each play a solo piece. Now I have a suggestion for you. As you watch and hear the performances, try to focus on the style with which each plays and their interactions with the piano. Are they two or are they one? Then ask yourself, why did they choose this particular piece to play for you? What does it tell you about them and their personalities? Alexander Nikolaevich Scriabin was a Russian composer and virtuoso pianist. Because of his development of a dissonant musical language, he was one of the most controversial composers of the 20th century. One of his contemporaries had this to say about him: "No composer had more scorn heaped upon him or greater love bestowed." Another said, "No one was more famous during their lifetime, and few were more quickly ignored after their death." The piece which Gene will now play, Etude in C sharp minor, Opus 2, number 1, was composed when Scriabin was 16 years of age. Gene Travis started piano lessons at the age of 6, progressing through several teachers before beginning lessons with a retired concert pianist. He was a demanding and somewhat frightening perfectionist who urged her to go on to a conservatory and pursue a career in music. She declined, but after a hiatus to marry and raise a family, she went back to the piano. She took private lessons with 3 faculty members of the New England Conservatory. She continued to play for choruses and musical theater groups, as well as 2 piano music with her dear friend, Betsy Conway. After another hiatus, she became and a family move, Jean has now happily found music again at North Hill. Felix Mendelssohn was a German composer, pianist, organist, and conductor of the Romantic period of music in the early 19th century. Another child prodigy, he made his public debut as a pianist at the age of 9. Like Scriabin, he was controversial, but that acerbic critic, H.L. Mencken, once said of him, "If Mendelssohn missed true greatness, he missed it by a hair." He was a prolific composer. Probably his best-known composition is the Wedding March. Other famous works are his songs without words, one of which, the romantic Sweet Remembrance, Opus 19, number 1, will be played by Peter. Now listen carefully, and at the very end of the piece, you will hear a lover's sigh, not once, but 3 times. hear the lover's sighs? Peter, can you play those three lover's sighs?
Spot.
Thank you, Peter. Peter Wallace began his piano lessons in Australia at the age of 8. At age 13, he played in a concert for outstanding students at the Adelaide South Australia Conservatory. He became a church organist with a view to a career in music, but marriage ended that vision. When he arrived in the United States at age 28, he once again took up music, albeit sporadically. Over the next 40 years, he considers that he had 1 year of musical experience 40 times. He now plays almost wholly for himself and any people his age he can find. Johannes Brahms and Robert Schumann were giants of the Romantic era of music in the 19th century. They were both German. Brahms was a composer, pianist, and conductor. Schumann, a lawyer and pianist turned composer and critic. Their professional and personal lives were intertwined, and it is only natural that Jean and Peter combine to play compositions by each. The first is Brahms' Hungarian Dance 3, number 1. The second and third are Schumann's Kartenmelodie and Nicht schnell, not fast. Well, I see that you're all still with us here in Asia and Peter's apartment. Nobody's left. It is a bit crowded in here, so if it gets too stuffy, please let me know and I'll open a window. the three of us were talking about this program, Gene kept insisting that they had to practice on the auditorium piano. I didn't understand why. After all, a piano is a piano, one is just like another. Not so. It happens that every piano has a distinct and unique voice, which the pianist hears and identifies with. You probably know that. But what you don't know is that when Jean purchased her current piano, she interviewed over a dozen before making her final selection. On the other hand, I'll bet you do know that Brahms was one of the famous three Bs. The three Bs of Romantic era music: Bach, Beethoven, and Brahms. So here we are, back to Brahms again. And Jean will play Intermezzo, Opus 17, number 2, for two hands. Sergei Rachmaninoff was a Russian composer, virtuoso pianist, and conductor who began piano and music lessons at age 4. He went on to be considered one of the finest pianists of his day. As a composer, he was one of the last of the great romanticists in Russian classical music. He ended his days in the United States in 1943, dying just 1 month after becoming a citizen. Two of Rachmaninoff's best-known compositions are his Rhapsody on a Theme of Paganini and Prelude in C-sharp minor. He wrote the Prelude when he was 19. Peter first began playing it when he was 19, and will play it again for us now. see that it's getting on toward 5 o'clock. You folks are probably getting anxious for your cocktails and dinner. We have one last piece for you. But before that, I hope you've been able to reflect on the different styles of our two pianists and how they combine to play for their pleasure and for ours. It's clear to see that they take their music very seriously, but themselves less so. Peter and Jean are planning a Christmas round the piano in the Commons. To pique your interest, they will now play Eugenia Rocherol's innovative arrangement of Jingle Bells for 4 hands. That's the end of our practice session. Thank you for coming, and careful not to trip on the hall rug on your way out.